Welcome to Radicards TV on Radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Greeno, and today I'm hosting Kurt Bench for this segment of Radicards Questions. If you're unfamiliar with this segment, it's 3 questions, 5 minutes each, with a standard deviation of about 3 to 5 minutes for miscellaneous dialogue, for extra discussion on these questions. So let's get straight to it. Question number 1. What would create purchasing urgency with regard to graded gem mint examples of 1980s rookie cards?
Purchasing urgency easily to me would be those stars from the 80s getting in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Bonds, Clemens. I mean, I didn't pay too much attention because I'd already knocked him out of the way. But Tim Raines,
Yeah,
who's elected this year,
he was.
I had already previously bought his PSA rookie and an autograph. So I would say the two main ones left would be Bonds and Clemens from the 80s. I could definitely see. I mean, Bonds' stuff has held the value. I don't know about Clemens because I really don't like Roger Clemens at all. We can save that for another time. I could go all day about it. But Barry
7
Bonds.
Cy Youngs, man. 7. I collected him along with many other stars during the 90s.
I actually pulled his Donruss rookie out of one of those vending things where you had
Oh
to
yeah.
quarter in, and I pulled it out and it was all I mean, this card was ate up, but I was like, oh, Roger Clemens rookie, like, that's so cool.
You know what's funny is you're talking about the quarter in and you push the thing down and you pull the like 3 cards out. I
Yep.
remember in the early 90s, we were at a pizza place. I think it may have been a Pizza Hut, and they had one of those vending machines. And this was when like Street Fighter 2 was the big game for
Yeah.
Capcom and in the arcade. And you know how they showcase the cards that you can possibly get out of these things? And it was the 85 Topps Roger Clemens rookie card. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I got to get the Roger Clemens rookie card. I've always wanted that card, and I hadn't had one yet at the time. And I put the quarter in. Of course, I had to get a bunch of commons, and I was like, this is probably going to be a ruse. I don't think I'm going to get anything out of this. So I didn't go, but I remember being like, I wish I had that Roger Clemens card. But going
Yeah.
back to it, because there's so many, pop reports are very high. Mark McGwire is one of the guys, too, that was in the 80s that was suspected of taking, and his stuff, and PSA 10s of his 85 Topps and Tiffany's have risen significantly in value. And
Yeah.
that in addition to that, Clemens rookie cards and gem mints are going up significantly. They've taken a huge increase, a huge spike has happened. I always suspected that it was just a matter of time before the market caught on to all the 80s rookies, even though they're oversaturated, because it just goes back to this. Now us guys that have some liquid cash, we can go back and buy all the cards we once wanted when we were kids, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's if something is rare, regardless of when it was printed in the 80s, the late 80s, like 84 and beyond, Tiffany. I mean, those it's a fairly rare set. I don't know the serial numbering off the top of my head, but you got a PSA 10 Tiffany rookie, it's going to be worth a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Even some of the minor players will be worth considerably more. But yeah, you're right. McGuire, I just think as time moves on, these sets that were already fairly rare, like Tiffany and like the glossy sets and things like that, as you move on, they're just going to get even more rare. I mean, it's just like it's just a cycle of things. Like stuff from the 50s and 60s, people probably in the 70s were like, this stuff, man. And then as we got into the 80s and 90s, it's like, holy crap, that's really, really hard to come by. And we're saying the same thing about the late 80s to 90s stuff, which was printed way too much. But I truly believe when Clemens and Bonds gets in the Hall of Fame, that stuff, it's just going to continue to elevate.
Well, this is a good conversation, and it leads us into the next question. So, question 2, okay? In what ways did the 2017 Baseball Hall of Fame election class signal an interest in high-grade examples of rookie cards of players from the steroid era?
In what
Think
ways
about
did
this
it?
for a moment. Think about this for a moment because we have guys that got in this year that either have been documented to have taken some sort of a stimulant or have had been in conversations to have taken some sort of a stimulant or have had a finger pointed at them by other players who have written books saying that they've taken a stimulant. Okay?
Mhm.
All three of these guys got in. Now, I'm a big fan of Jeff Bagwell. I collected him heavily in the 90s along with my other guys. And so I like all three of the guys that got in, and I'm glad they got in. But I'm just saying that what I did see is not only a spike in their rookie cards, but a spike in Roger Clemens, a spike in Barry Bonds, a spike in Mark McGwire rookie cards in high grade. I've seen this recently. And because I think that what this signaled in the market is that while not a guarantee, it's certainly a move in the direction of saying, hey, there might be a chance now that guys like Bonds and Clemens and McGwire will in fact get in. Because if
I
these guys got in, then it's just a matter of time before the floodgates open.
I don't think McGuire has a shot at all. Bonds and Clemens for sure, because I think McGuire is sitting at like 10% or something. But I think a lot of people are kind of in forgive and let's move on. I mean, Bagwell was never a headliner like on ESPN like Bonds and Clemens and McGuire was, right? Because Bagwell always had solid numbers, but he was never the guy like Bonds and especially Clemens and McGuire was. Pudge Rodriguez, same thing, fantastic catcher, but he was never just the guy like those other individuals were. So I personally noticed the spike not only in their rookie cards but in their autograph cards. I try to collect as many Hall of Fame autographs as I can, and it was nuts. Just trying to get a Jeff Bagwell, it went from maybe about a $20 autograph card to $40, $50 depending on the auction, depending on if it was tops 5-star or tops whatever. Same thing with Pudge Rodriguez.
Oh, his was a
Tim
huge
Raines.
spike.
Yeah, because he doesn't sign a whole lot either. Same thing with Bagwell. Now,
Right.
Tim Raines has signed a lot of stuff in the last few years, but um, I think those three. I mean, Tim Raines was on steroids, but he was still known for taking a lot of drugs in the 80s. But
Cocaine was his thing.
I think it opens the floodgates. But for people that may or may not have done it, but they also had the numbers too. I mean, you got to remember, just because someone takes steroids or rubs a cream on their arm, right, like what Bond said, doesn't make them a great player all of a sudden. That's not how it works.
You still have to make the numbers.
Yeah, you still got to hit a tiny little ball 400 feet. So, I mean, that's hard to do.
I think that Bonds and Clemens, I think were stars before the conversations.
Clemens definitely.
I think they
Bonds
were headed to the Hall of
was-
Fame before all the conversations happened, and I was always rooting for them for success.
I think what did Bonds in was watching the '98 home run race, because
Oh,
up until
well,
that
yeah,
point,
because he was like, I can do that.
Bonds was doing all this amazing stuff, but everyone's like, yeah, but look at McGwire and Sosa, they're hitting
Yeah.
the ball over the fence 70 times.
Right.
Okay, I'll do it 70. And I think that's when it started for him. Clemens was already great. I don't know what went through his head. He was already great.
He was already great. Sosa wasn't that great before all this went down. And so when all this happened, I was like, how can a guy go from being like not a player I collect and in my star binders and instead in my commons boxes to now a guy I should be collecting within a couple years span? Kind of fishy, but that's an interesting conversation, man. I'm glad we got to cover that. That's something that I think is important to think about how. When certain guys get into the Hall of Fame, what does it signal for collectability of other players? And I've just seen a huge spike with Clemens rookie cards recently, just a huge spike, and I think it's going to continue, and that's fine because honestly, those are still key cards in those years. They're key cards in the '80s block of years, and I really can appreciate that even now. So good stuff, man. Question 3. For new collectors, what are some ways to find a collecting focus?
Something that's around now that wasn't around when you and I were collecting as kids is YouTube, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you have questions, you have the internet. You can Google or you can get on YouTube and see what's being collected. There's still Beckett is still around, right? So you can look at Beckett and see what maybe get a preview of they always do previews of the cards that are coming out for that particular month, so you can see if you like that design, if it fits your budget, whatever. But I would say YouTube would be the biggest influence right now. See, especially young kids that get on YouTube and they see people doing those group breaks and maybe making a little money on the side from doing that. So of course they're going to want to do that, and then they get the high end cards, right? That's what the majority of people care about these days. Um, so yeah, my answer would be YouTube for sure.
Okay, that's fair. I like that. One thing that got me into card collecting was the excitement of looking for something and trying to complete a run of cards. That kind of drew me in. That there were all these different versions and these different sets, and I was able to kind of see something in a page or see a run of something and start following statistics and player backgrounds and player facts and
Yeah,
performance rates and that kind of all bottled into one thing, collectability. And it's kind of like the stock, right? The player does well, the cards are going to do well. So, and then vice versa.
the chase, right? You wanna fill in those missing slots in your pages or however you go about storing your cards.
I just like the concept of organizing. I think even as a young kid, prior to getting into cards, I was always organizing something. I remember I was real young, and I took the rice, the raw rice and the raw beans that we had, those hard uncooked beans that you buy like in like the bakery aisle,
Yeah,
and I poured them all out on the kitchen floor when I was younger, and I mixed them all around, and I started organizing the rice out of the beans, and then I would. So I like the concept of organizing. I think it's just like therapeutic in a way, and I think when I got the cards, um, it was just that same obsession, but now I could do it with player data and collectability and value and statistics, and I can think about marketing and business. And I was thinking about all that stuff, before I was 10 years old, but I didn't realize what I was thinking about was in fact marketing and business and stocks and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I got to learn that prior to learning the theory behind what all that stuff meant, and that helped me digest the data and helped me think, refine the way I thought about cards and collecting. And as I've gotten older, that romance has just been augmented with time. And so that helped me. That may be an atypical way to figure out a collecting focus, right? Because that's not really me saying that's a focus. That's me saying that's how I'm collecting. But focus is like, okay, what are you going to play? You're gonna collect a team. You're going to collect a player. You're going to collect a certain position type of player. I once met a middle-aged lady at a card show, and she was buying like cards of pitchers with their faces all gnarled when they're pitching, like mid-pitch. You've seen them. They're like making
yeah,
funny faces. There are a lot of Randy Johnson cards like that,
yeah. Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
some Greg Maddux cards like that. And so it's there's so many there's almost like limitless ways to collect, and there's no wrong way to go about it. So if someone's jumping in today, what would you recommend to them outside of say YouTube to get them into started to like what would they collect? What do I collect?
Yeah, I mean, maybe see if there's a card show going on, where you live, and just talk to people, ask around, maybe ask your dad or your older brother or whoever, what do I do? Maybe just start with what they have at a retail store, so like Tops or Tops Bun or Tops Opening Day. Just get your feet wet. That way you're only spending 99 cents to maybe $2 for a pack
Mm-hmm.
instead of going nuts and spending 50, 60, $70 for a hobby box of cards that in the end you're like, I don't like that. So maybe just asking around, ask questions, um, go to a card show and see if just talk to people.
That's actually good advice. Is you get involved with some of the people that are collecting in your market, and then get to know them, see what they're collecting, maybe get some advice on what to buy. When I started playing guitar, I had a friend who had a similar guitar than me. I had a Fender Stratocaster, that's what I play, and he had a Squier, and he was actually a really good guitar player. And I was like, hey friend, I won't use his name. I was like, hey friend, why do you have a Squier when you're such a good guitar player? He's like, dude, I'm not going to be a professional guitar player. Like, I'm going to go to med school and be a doctor. Why would I buy a nice guitar? I'm not going to be a professional musician. I was like, that's an interesting way to look at it. Very, very logical, very pragmatic. And so
Yeah.
when that happened, I started looking at purchasing decisions in a different way. And this was, I'd say, 10, 11 years ago from now. And
Yeah.
I, at the time, I still have 4 electric guitars that I still play. And I'm thinking, I said, why do I need 4? I probably only need just 2. Why did I buy 4 of them? So it's like,
Yeah.
but what? And that's another conversation. Is like, you don't need to buy the best if you're trying something out. So you said, to your credit, jump in and buy opening day, try it out. If you like it, buy a more expensive product. I think that's really good advice. Good stuff, man. Any final thoughts?
No, I'm just. I love what you're talking about. Why do I have 4 guitars as I'm sitting here? I can see behind me. Like, why do I have all this junk? I have so much stuff.
But it's our hobby. It's like our passion. It's what we love, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah,
if I had a bunch more money to have another guitar, like,
yeah.
I don't need another guitar. Like, I think it's
I'm the
I have
same way. It's
4.
like I want to buy some more Joker Funko Pops, but
Totally.
I'm
Good
I'm
stuff, man. I love it. Thanks for
the
sharing.
expensive ones, so, yeah.
All right. Thank you for watching another episode of Radicards TV and Radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Greeno. Thank you, Kurt Bench, for joining us in this segment of Radicards Questions. And until next time, enjoy collecting. If you like this video, please subscribe. Enjoy collecting. Thank you.